everybody is having a great week and looking forward to kicking off our client service conversations with our first official guest, Dana Lancour, Vice President of Branding plus Communications with Barton Malow Holdings. Dana is a rock star in S&PS. She was one of the original So Migos and she, Holly Bolton and Andrew Kilborn, early on in their careers, it became a stalwart in education and programming for us and kind of leading that thought process. I also want to just kind of share, Dana is, if you hear a little bit of noise in the background, is a brand new pup mom to a lovely little French bulldog by the name of Jeannie. So we might have a guest appearance by Jeannie every so often, but just bear with us. So glad you're able to be with us, Dana, and join in the conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Donna and Barry. I am very honored to be one of your first guests.
And yeah, Dana and I also go a little bit back. In 2016 at the S&PS Build Business conference in Philadelphia, Dana instructed myself and Frank Lippert on how to baton twirl in front of a big audience, and I got a shirt out of it, which still is in my wardrobe. So thanks for that, Dana.
I'm glad you love to sport that purple shirt still. That's good.
So talking about client service, but before we jump into that, Dana, can you share with us a little bit about how you got into your current position?
Sure. I fell into the industry just like everyone else generally does. Started on the marketing path with a large national firm and joined Barton Malow in 2007 after about 6 years in the industry. Spent a lot of time on the marketing side, with pursuit chasing large projects in lots of different fun markets. Was able to transition to the communications side for a while, did external communications, then transitioned to internal communications, was exposed to a lot of HR during that time and really got to see another side of the business. And then, most recently was able to pull all of my experience together and oversee marketing and communications for the entire enterprise. So definitely have enjoyed a very full and diverse set of career experiences. I've been at Barton Malow for a little over 13 years, but have really had the opportunity to do a lot of different things and work for different people. So I always say sometimes you don't know what is in store for you, and you might think you have it planned out, but it never seems to happen the exact way that you want it to. So be open to what may come about for you, and when opportunity arises, jump in.
Absolutely.
And that's it. That's a good point. We've talked a lot about over the last few weeks the idea of adaptability and flexibility. But certainly those are stalwarts for any career, no matter what's going on in the environment around us at any point in time. So what is your involvement with client service at Barton Malow, and how did you come about being involved in that client service initiative?
Yeah, so I love the pursuit game, and I love chasing work and being involved in those big pursuit teams. And since I lead marketing, I work very, very closely with business development, as well as our vice president of strategy, on the different things that we need to do to reach out to our clients, to message appropriately, to communicate appropriately, taking a really holistic view of marketing, communications, and sales all together. So I work with our VP of strategy one-on-one. We spend a lot of time together. We work across the enterprise with all of our different business developers within the different markets to really help them with best practices and tools. And I think having that background of being a marketing coordinator and a marketing manager for a very long time has really helped me to be able to do that. And then when you combine it with just like good communication practices and good communications, like that can take your client service to the next level and take what you're trying to portray to your clients, make it even better.
Yeah, communication is definitely one of the bigger pieces of client service. What does the client service program at Barton Malow look like? I mean, what are and what are some of the hallmarks of your client service initiatives?
So our client service program incorporates a lot of the traditional practices, but more recently we have really worked to bolster our what some people call customer commitment or customer feedback functions. So really asking our customers what they think of us, what their needs are, what we're not giving them, really being open to as much feedback from them as possible. So most recently, we've been really working on, getting that feedback, and then how do we respond to it. And I will say, we use NPS, we use the Net Promoter Score system. So how do you respond to promoters versus detractors, and even those people in the middle who are kind of just on the bubble? It has been what we've been working on most recently.
Okay. How long has client service been a focus at Barton Malow, and was your leadership, what is your leadership's involvement with those efforts? And were they on board from the beginning, or did it take some coercing, as it were?
Well, I will say that our president and CEO, Ryan Maybach, was instrumental in telling us, like, hey, we need to get better at servicing our clients and understanding their needs, and getting more feedback from him. So at the very highest level, leadership involvement has been great. And for the most part, leaders know that it's important, and you want to service your clients well so that they'll give you more work in the future. It's just so much easier to stay on campus or stay in a healthcare system that you're already at, rather than breaking into a new one. So, we've been working with leaders across different levels and in our various geographies and markets to, help them understand why feedback is important, but also give them the tools and set the expectations for them. Because not everyone thinks of client service the same. And sometimes just giving them the tools that they need, they'll do it for the most part. Like they will help, because they do know it's important, but sometimes you have to kind of help them along the way to do their job. So.
Yeah, and having leadership buy-in to any client service plan, it has to happen. It has to start at the top, and it has to filter its way down. And you talked a little bit about, you've got specific leaders in some of your different geographies that kind of are pushing the client service efforts. Are they the ones that are in charge of continuing things, and are they and who are the doers? Who are the ones that are out there actively servicing the clients?
So it's a very mixed bag, and it definitely depends on your office size, your market, and then just the relationship, because obviously the relationships exist at a lot of different levels. When we look at our customer commitment program, we have identified like a customer service representative for each of our customers, and it can be a business developer, it could be a project director, it could be a project manager, it could be a vice president. I think that's really the key in having a good customer focused program, is understanding that it doesn't always have to be the highest level person. It has to be the one with the strongest relationship. And again, giving that person or those people the tools, and also when we get the feedback, sharing that feedback, widely with the team that's involved. So if it is the vice president, making sure that that person has the opportunity to sit with the project team and say, hey, we just got a 6 from this customer, and this is what they said we can work on. And not to get anyone in trouble. I think that was one of the biggest concerns at the beginning, was like, oh, is this, kind of big brother checking up on us to make sure we're doing our job. No, that's not it at all. Like, we know we're going to get detractors. We're fine with getting detractors. I think last month we had 3 detractors, and that was a little bit different for us. We generally don't have that many in one month.
Right.
And so it's like, no one's in trouble. No one's in trouble. We just know that we're going to, dig into this a little bit more with these 3 particular customers. And the one had never responded to a survey ever. So I'm glad that they responded that time around. In general, our customer service program, getting the feedback from customers, we feel like doing it as regular as possible gives us the opportunity to drill into problems before they get out of control. And, at Barton Malow, we talk a lot about, we don't want anyone to feel like they have to be the hero. We don't want them to feel like they don't have a team behind them. There's a huge team behind you that can help, fly in and help fix a problem. So don't be afraid to wave that flag. And if a customer is going to wave the flag, certainly we need to show them that we can respond to it as quickly as possible.
Well, while we're on the topic of client feedback, I'm sure something that the viewers might be wanting to know is what are you guys using for your surveys? What program or software are you guys using for that?
Yeah, so we are using a program called Listen 360. It's a very simple system, and it's actually used more for consumer-based products and services. We did look at more extensive systems, but for us, and I should say, people need to use what works best for their company, for their culture, for what makes sense to them. But for us, we wanted to get data very quickly on a very regular basis, and this system kind of hit all marks. It's also very inexpensive, and we liked that. I mean, so
it's always nice.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about expanding the system. We're starting to look at, should we move it to a different system? But for now, it's working for us, and we're happy with the results. We've gotten great feedback when our VPs, or when someone reaches out to a client after getting a detractor score. We have a standard practice written out of like how to respond to certain things and what the expectations are in terms of time. And for a detractor score, meaning 0 to 6, we say we want you to contact that customer within 24 hours. And when they get a senior VP or Ryan or someone reaching out to them that says, hey, we got this score, we'd really like to learn more from you. We have gotten amazing feedback from our customers that's like, wow, I didn't think anyone was listening. I didn't think, I would get responded to so quickly. So it's also garnered like really great conversations and figuring out what maybe we were had blind spots to in the past. So
right.
Yeah, I just encourage anything negative that comes out of a program to be addressed in a really a smart manner, not getting anyone in trouble.
Right.
Constructive feedback.
Right. And exactly. And, timeliness is everything, because if they take the opportunity to share that, so I've always said, be careful what you ask for, you might find out. So you're kind of, once you hear it, you're almost emboldened to have to do something with it. And a lot of times our customers just want to be heard in that situation. And it's the beginning point for some great conversations that you might not have otherwise have had. And it may just be a simple misunderstanding. I say simple. It may just be a misunderstanding or semantics, but still, perception's reality, marketing 101, right? Perception's reality. So in our promo video, we talked about the difference between client service and business development. A lot of times they're kind of viewed as one and the same, and as Barry and I have talked about this, it seems to be a much broader thing, but I'm curious, how does Barton Malow view that? I mean, do you see those two things as similar or different, or kind of what's the approach?
I mean, I would say again, it's a hybrid. We definitely have a lot of seller doers. Business development, I mean, their main job is to bring in the work. And when you think about client service, we do want business developers to stay engaged with our current clients, but we want those project teams and the project leaders to really take the lead on servicing that client and making sure that they feel like they are valued, a valued customer. So business development is engaged in the effort, but not always leading the effort, because it doesn't really always make sense for them to lead the effort. So again, it's a hybrid. And the nice thing is our business developers and operations leaders are joined at the hip. I mean, they work hand in hand. There's a lot of dynamic duos and awesome trios and stuff that are working together. So that's how we would view it.
So while we're on the topic of just those client leaders, how does Barton Malow define who your clients are? I mean, I think there's a lot of different firms in the industry that say, well, our client is our client, and others say, well, no, it's everybody. And what's Barton Malow's view of who your clients are?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Barry. And I'm going to back up a little bit to how we got to where we are today, because for us at Barton Malow, the first thing that we did for a while was really look at ourselves internally and really service our internal clients, meaning we call our employees team members. So we have been serving our team members for many years and making sure we understood their feedback. When we talk about serving our clients, it's the traditional clients that pay us. We work in an array of market segments, and there are different levels of clients, right? I mean, in some cases, and that's something to think about when you're working on a client service program is, am I serving the right person or right people? And do I need, more than one? And if we're working on something like a university, we could have multiple stakeholders. There could be like 10 or 20. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's, first it was serving employees, then it was serving clients, and we really see the future being serving our partners and subcontractors and other people we work with, so that we can really pull together an entire brand experience of, if you are a client, this is what you should experience with Barton Malow. If you're a subcontractor, this is what you should experience, as well as a team member. And I really think that is where we would like to go in the future, and we've been already having those discussions.
That's awesome.
So how do you ensure consistency in your client service efforts between offices and or regions? I mean, I know Barton Malow has a broad footprint, as you mentioned, in a number of markets and building types. So how do you kind of get everybody in lockstep and keep them there across those different locations?
Yeah, I think that's a great question too. I mean, we do have 14 offices across the country. Mostly east of the Mississippi is where we do work. So ensuring consistency is important. We do have standard practices of how we conduct business, but we talk about that in the form of like goalposts. Like, this is the area that we need you to work in. If you're only going to do 3 things, these are the 3 things that you're going to do. All of our standard practices are literally on one page, and that's on purpose. And there's tools and documentation to support it, but like what our expectations are are very succinct, and ideally they're easy to digest for a team member to carry out. So I think when you talk about having multiple offices, what you have to understand is, clients are different across the country, across markets. There is different cultures. There's a different set of values. There's the way people buy. And so when you're putting together any type of program, consistency is important, but then also allowing for some level of flexibility. You know, in somewhere like Florida, they might not want the vice president to be the one that's handling all of the client service discussions, and it makes more sense for the project manager for that particular health system to have the discussion. So again, like we don't try to overly prescribe what our standards are to allow for that flexibility.
So yeah, suggested best practices are, is a good place to start. Obviously, in the last 8-9 weeks, a lot of those best practices has probably been thrown out the window. Talk a little bit about how COVID-19, the pandemic, has altered your client service strategies, and if you guys have already started thinking about what the client service for you guys might look like in the future because of this.
Yeah, I mean, coronavirus is affecting everyone differently. And, even from state to state, what we've experienced as an enterprise has been different. So for us in Michigan, we had pretty stringent orders put in place where construction was not considered essential. And that was different than every other state that we had worked in. So we did have to close 123 projects in one day. And then we were fortunate enough to be able to reopen them just recently as well. But in doing so, making sure we did it in a safe manner. But what coronavirus has allowed us to do is really to get innovative with how we deliver to our clients. And construction has always been a lagger in just all sorts of kinds of things, yep. Right? So now what is the saying, like, innovation comes out of necessity, right? So now there's a need to do things a little bit different. For us, that need has looked like having more shift work than in the past. I mean, in the past, everyone would get their work done at this exact same time of day. That's probably just not going to be the case. The really cool, I think one of the coolest stories that has come out of how we've serviced our clients is, our K-12 work in Michigan. We're a huge K-12 builder in Michigan. And with summer coming up, that's the time where they put a lot of work in place. And so when the projects kind of got shut down and kind of operations slowed for a bit here, we still had to get bid packages out, and we were still like, we still have this construction that we're going to have to get put in place as soon as they let us go, right? So our teams in the K-12 market, they work to conduct online bid openings in a live format. They put in place a system where it was all confidential and bids were being opened, and there was no worry about, we saw someone else's number before we saw, another subcontractor's number. So, I think that it took them a week to figure out a solution that suited our clients' needs and suited the needs of the subcontractor community, and everyone felt like it was fair game. And now it's becoming a best practice because, we feel like that's the way to go. Another thing is, we're doing more virtual interviews. So we're certainly coming up with strategies and ways to say, hey, this is how we can do a virtual interview with you. We can provide the technology. We have a plan for you in place, but if you have a plan for us, we'll do whatever you need. But really understanding that people might just not want to all be in the same room, the same cooped up conference room with the interview moving forward. So we're also just looking at, hey, a lot of clients, probably their capital spend is going to go down for a while. So how do we work with them on their true needs over the foreseeable future? What are things that we can help them accomplish, whether it be, partitions in their spaces or sanitary units or, technology implementation to make sure everyone is feeling safe in their spaces. So a lot of different opportunities out there. Again, I think we're all going to learn a lot over the foreseeable future.
Agreed. It's one of those things that, the what I hear most of all of this is, what is the next normal going to look like? We're not going to go back to the way that things were. Not that I don't think anybody thinks that this is the format, everything online that we'll be doing extensively in the future. However, now that owners and honestly, firm leaders have seen that how easy it is and how the advantages of it, you'll almost see that blending of in person and in virtual or online, as it were, moving forward, and it allows you some flexibility as well. So I think that just what does the next normal look like? So with anything, especially with a new program or initiative, some of the biggest lessons learned are the struggles, the things that didn't go quite like you thought they would. So what have been the biggest struggles that you've experienced at Barton Malow in implementing your client service plan, and what advice would you give someone who's looking to start a plan or initiative?
Yeah, we put our plan into place about 3 years ago. We really started to get more customer feedback and worked on what that looked like. And I think the biggest struggle for us was trying to figure out, and hey, it is not solved. Nothing I think is ever solved, right? You always kind of have to relook at things over and over again. But one of the big things that we talked a lot about was, how often do we reach out to clients? How often do we ask for their feedback? And right now we're asking for feedback on a monthly basis. And some people are still like, that seems like a lot. But we also firmly believe that things happen slowly and all of a sudden. So if things are going downhill with the client relationship, we want to know about it as quickly as possible. And if we spread it out to a quarterly basis or twice a year, we feel like we could miss some of those day-to-day struggles that may occur. There are some clients that are like, this is too much, I just can't do it. And so in those cases, we've tried to have conversations with them about how important it is. We've also said, hey, you can also just like delete the email, right? But I think that's been one of the challenges. And then obviously the other challenge is just like having time. Everyone is trying to keep up. We all have a million things on our plate. Hey, I still have a million things on my plate, even though I work from home every day. Sometimes 5 o'clock rolls around and it's like, did you eat lunch today? But but I think just making client service a priority all the time, and being really creative with how do we integrate that into our regular meeting cadence? How do we integrate it into our regular, capture planning activities, or just how do you continue to socialize the concept of customer commitment to the entire organization and make them all feel like they have a role in it? So those are some of the challenges that we're always trying to overcome.
Awesome.
And do you want me to touch on advice?
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you tell somebody?
Yeah, so I would just say, start off slow, realize it's not going to be perfect, realize it might take a while to get it off the ground. I feel like, we've been essentially surveying our clients consistently for the last 2 years. I said we started working on the program 3 years ago. For the last 2 years, we've really been doing a good job getting consistent feedback in. Just last month, we had the most feedback that we had ever had. And I don't know if that's coincidental to what's going on in our time right now, but we also kind of took a different approach and tried to like really drill in that we wanted to get more feedback, and gave them a whole new set of tools to use to get more feedback. But it was exciting to see that our feedback, I think we were up by like 15% in terms of response rate. So we were pretty excited about that. So I would just say stick with it. is the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those guys that I love just getting something done, started and finished as soon as possible. But, you know, in something like this, you definitely have to break it off into manageable chunks and, you know, just get done what you can and, you know, move to the next one. And it'll be a long process. So,
Yeah.
well, Dana, thank you so much for spending some time with Donna and I this morning. And yeah, just we appreciate your insights. I know people are going to really find a lot of value in what you've shared today, and keep doing what you're doing at Barton Malow. And yeah, just thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
Thanks,
for
Dana.
allowing me to be part of this.
Thanks a lot. See you guys.
See you guys.